On a cold, dark night, Leila was walking alone down a narrow, deserted street after finishing work late. Suddenly, she heard footsteps approaching her quickly. She turned around, but no one was there. Her heart raced with fear. All at once, the streetlights flickered out, leaving her in complete darkness. A shadowy figure emerged from the trees, slowly approaching her. Leila tried to run, but her legs felt frozen in place. The mysterious figure came closer and suddenly vanished into thin air, leaving behind a bloodstained note that read, "You're next." Leila's hands trembled as she held the note, overwhelmed with terror. She looked around, but the street was completely empty. She tried calling the police, but her phone wasn't working. It felt like she was trapped in a nightmare with no escape. She decided to run toward her home, and as her pace quickened, she could hear faint whispers behind her, as if someone was following her. When she reached her house, the door was wide open. She cautiously stepped inside, expecting the worst. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind her, locking her inside. Footsteps echoed from upstairs. Her heart nearly stopped as she moved toward the stairs, and when she looked up, she saw someone standing in the shadows. She approached carefully, and as she got closer, a strong hand reached out from the darkness and grabbed her. Leila screamed, but no one was there to hear her. In a sudden, chilling moment, the lights went out again. In complete darkness, Leila felt her body freeze, as if a mysterious force was paralyzing her. She tried to scream again, but no sound came out. She felt a cold hand pulling her upward. When the lights flickered back on, she found herself in her bedroom. But it wasn't as she had left it. The walls were stained with blood, and the mirror reflected a terrifying shadow behind her. She slowly turned around to see a masked figure standing near the bed, holding something sharp that glistened in the dim light. Gasping for any way out, she rushed toward the phone. Just as she grabbed it, it rang. A cold, whispering voice on the other end said, "Your game is over, Leila. You've been watched the whole time." Her hands shook as she dropped the phone. The masked figure now stood right in front of her, but before it could make a move, the lights went out again, and a deathly silence filled the house. In the pitch-black darkness, Leila could hear her heart pounding, as if it was the only sound filling the eerie silence. She tried to step back, but felt something heavy tying her feet. Suddenly, a faint light flickered in the corner. Cautiously, Leila moved toward the light, discovering an old mirror reflecting a strange image. As she approached, her reflection appeared distorted. In that moment, the mirror began to show scenes from the past, horrific crimes that had taken place in the same house. The faces of the victims looked eerily familiar until she realized the last face she saw in the mirror was her own. She gasped and stumbled backward, only for a cold hand to grip her shoulder tightly. Turning in shock, she saw the masked figure once again, but this time, the figure slowly lifted the mask to reveal a face, her own, but with a look of pure hatred and malice. In a chilling whisper, it said, "You can't escape your fate. You've always been part of this game." At that moment, Leila felt herself being pulled into a whirlpool of darkness, unsure if she was living a nightmare or if she had always been part of this endless crime.